Welcome, everybody, to this Monday's Wealth Creation Show. Sharpen the saw, Jim. Let's talk about sharpening the saw. Now, everybody's going to think immediately about a tool, obviously, sharpening the saw. And it is, in essence, it is. But the tool is ourselves, you. And that is the most important tool I think anyone will ever have.
You call me a tool?
Well, yes. But in essence,
not in the derogatory sense, though.
No. I mean, how your body and how looking after your body and your mind and all that facilitates you in order to be more successful and be able to obviously create your own wealth, like we talk about each day. But you need to be in the right mind frame, you need to be in the right physical and mental state to be able to do that. So it really is about self-care, and we're going to talk a lot about it today under the title Sharpen Your Saw.
This is the old adage that I think it was Abraham Lincoln that actually said, if I was asked to chop down a tree, I would spend 80 to 90% of my time sharpening the axe before I began.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And same concept, I suppose, about sharpening the saw. But there's, as you said, there's a lot more to dive deeper into this in terms of how it will help us overall increase our wealth, increase our knowledge, and basically, 2024 is going to be an exceptional year for people that apply this.
Yeah, definitely. And the sharpen the saw concept it kind of emphasizes the importance of self-care, personal growth, and your continuous improvement and things as well. So it means really preserving and enhancing the greatest asset you have, and that is yourself, you and I, and each individual watching. And just a shout out to everybody that's tuned in already and watching live, because it really is about your own self-care, and it means having a balanced program of self-renewal of 4 specific areas, and that's your physical, your social and emotional, your mental, and your spiritual.
Yeah, can I quickly go over again, because I forgot to hit the button on TikTok.
Yeah, when you do.
I've just hit the button just now and everybody's just gone live and they're going, what is he talking about? It's like we're talking about sharpening the saw today. If Abe Lincoln, for example, he used to say that if I was going to chop down a tree, that I'd spend 80 to 90% of my time actually sharpening the axe before it began. So we're going to be talking about sharpening the saw. It's habits of highly effective people. Actually, Stephen Covey talks about this quite a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that's come from, I've referenced a lot from the book of Stephen Covey that Jim, you have recommended and got us all reading, which is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Mm-hmm. And that's where this comes from, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But in terms of self-care and the sharpening the saw concept, a lot of people might find it difficult, Jim. I mean, mindset and getting yourself in a physically good state and things. I mean, it's a bit of a challenge, and we're not going to say it's quite easy to do that. You yourself in your own journey have went through a lot of, like, with your diet and changing to vegan, and you're obviously training you've done triathlons and all the rest of it. So, I mean, it's not something that happens overnight. It's something you need to work on, and something you implement by doing, obviously, consistently habit stacking and things as well, to get you into that routine of getting your right mindset, getting your right physical and mental situation on the right track.
Yeah, well, let's look at that right now.
Yeah.
Let's take a classic example of this. I thought my knee was out completely. This is for my triathlon and for my running as well. I thought my knee had it. I then thought I was going to have to go back for another operation on my knee. And I thought, well, that's going to put me out running again, and it's going to put me out training again for a long time. So I thought, I'm going to seek expert advice first. This is why it's important to do this. I'm going to seek expert advice first. So I went along to Stuart Barton Physiotherapy. Robert saw me. Robert put me through a couple of tests, and he went, okay. He says, it's a muscle problem. It's not a ligament problem or anything like that. It's just purely a muscle problem. He took some video footage of me on my phone, and then what he did from there is he showed me and played it back and says, look what's happening. Your knee is coming in every single time that you're going down to do a lunge. Every time you go down to do a lunge on your left-hand side, straight as a die with your foot. Every time you go on the right-hand side, it curves in. It says that's where all the pain is coming from, and it's because your glute at the back of your buttocks, he says, it's not strong enough. It's not strong enough to withstand that, to keep that straight, that knee straight with the thing. That's where all the pain's coming from. So that's what he said. It's the case. Now, once I'd known that, he then put me through some exercise. He says, this is the exercise I want to do. 15 minutes a day it'll take you. This is what you have to do. Now, I'll be honest, the exercises were like, if you saw me doing these exercises, you'd think,
ridiculous.
What the hell is he doing? He looks a complete tube, honestly. And I felt like that in the beginning, but I did it religiously because he told me to do it religiously. And within the 4 weeks, it was never a problem. I am now up to 7.5 kilometers running, so beyond 4 miles now, easily 10-minute miles, easily. So I'm back in that frame of mind, and I'm back to running again. And I have been running religiously anyway, but I'm back to, I could go back to marathon and ultra running if I really want to, because it's not a ligament problem. It's nothing like that. It's nothing wrong with my bones or my legs or anything. It's just purely a muscle thing. So I can actually get back to ultra marathons and possibly marathon as well. Obviously, if you're doing ultra, you'll be doing marathon anyway, because ultra's beyond marathon. So that shows you, seek expert advice before you start. So I've got that done. I've got that nailed down. Now, I swim a mile at least in the pool every single week, religiously almost. You know, there's times where I can't, where I'm away somewhere or I'm having to do something. But I usually stick to that. And most of the times I'm a mile in the pool every single week, if not 2 kilometers. So a mile is about 1.62 kilometers. So I go to 2 kilometers because I can get an hour out of that, because I've got an hour for the pool, for the lane. I hire a lane, not my wife Elaine, but a lane in the pool every single time. So, and people are going, why would you? Like, I've got the whole lane to myself for the whole pool while everybody else swims either side. And people could get a bit upset about that, but I look on the concept, I do not go to pubs. So therefore, that's where I'm choosing to invest my money in hiring this lane to swim back and forward, no interruptions every single time to get my swimming on track. So I've now got my swimming on track. I've now got my running on track. I've now got to get my bike on track. Now, notice the habit stacks here. This is the habit stacking, the sharpen the saw. How am I going to fit this in? Okay, on Monday I will run. Or at 6 o'clock on a Monday morning, I'll get up and I'll be out the door for 7. I'll be finished by 8. I'll be washed and changed. I'll be away to work. Okay. On a Friday, do the same thing. On a Wednesday, I do the swimming, and I do that as well. I'm at the pool for 7 o'clock. I'm out by 8. I'm away to work after that. I'm washed and changed. Okay. So how am I going to fit this in? Because I now have to get cycling. So I've just ordered, and it's been delivered as a power bike, a spin bike, basically. So I've got a spin bike as well. So I've got a treadmill, I've got a rower, and I've got a spin bike in my small room at the back of my house. Okay. Now, first thing everybody says is like, it's New Year. This will just gather dust. And it's like, no, it won't.
No.
Because I'll be using it. Now, this is to get my power back in my legs on the bike, because I'm not going into the bike, because you know it's icy roads just now. Yeah. You know how many times I've actually crashed on my bike, and one of them I ended up in the ambulance and carted away and stitched, and my eye was ripped open and all down the side and my face and everything. And that I could have lost my sight because of that. So there's no way I'm going out in the roads and like that. But I need to get up to speed, because I've committed myself now. This is the key here. I've committed myself to my first triathlon this year in April, which is a sprint triathlon. Yeah. I've committed myself to the weekend. April, sprint triathlon, the East Fife triathlon. I will be doing it. 750 meters in the pool. It'll be 20 kilometers on the bike, and then it'll be 5 kilometers at the end running. I want to get back up to a standard triathlon, which is 1,500 meters, 40 kilometers on the bike, and 10 kilometers running at the end. So I want to get back to standard triathlon. So I'm going to start off with the sprint triathlon. I focused on that, but I need to get on the bike again. That means I need to get my bum in shape, because I tell you what, when you hit that saddle and you're on for a prolonged period of time, it is sore. Yeah, definitely sore. After a period of time, it gets really sore. So I need to break that in, and I also need to get muscle built in my legs for power for when I'm climbing hills as well, and when I'm pushing on. So I need to get that done. So that's why I bought the spin bike. Now, where the hell am I going to fit that in? So I've got a Tuesday morning free. I've got a Thursday morning free. I've got a Saturday and Sunday morning free. Now, I thought about this, and Elaine went, "You don't go on your bike when it got delivered yesterday?" I went, "No." And she thought, "Well, that's not going to happen then, is it?" And I went, No, let me explain. Let me just explain. If I go on now, I'm going to put myself out because I'm going to hurt my legs because it's going to be using different muscle sets. So it's going to be sore. So I'm not going to be able to run today, and I have run today. So I didn't go on. If I go on Tuesday, I'll struggle to swim on Wednesday. So I don't want to put that out. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put it in on Thursday morning and see how I get on. If it works on Thursday morning and I can still run okay on Friday morning, and I've still got the weekend to recover, I'll maybe go on a Sunday morning or maybe go on a Saturday morning for the other one. So Thursday and Saturday, see how I'm straddling it.
Yeah.
But I need to habit stack that to fit in. See, the thing about sharpening the saw, it's not about how quick you can do it or how quick to get there. It's how can you fit this in so it's sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sustainability is everything. It's not the fact, this is where people go, I'm the number one in the world, and the next year they're gone forever.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't understand the concept of it's all very well being number one, but prove it to me and come back next year with number one again.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about this in the Estes, don't we?
Yeah.
It's like, it's great to win the number one estate agent in Scotland, but can you do it next year? That's the most important thing. Or is it just a one-hit wonder? Because I don't want to be a one-hit wonder.
I think it's good to be able to prove consecutively that you could keep at that same level, and whatever you do.
Yeah. So this is how I'm going to habit stack it in. I'm going to see how I get on, and I'm going to work on it from there. And that means I will then be doing run, swim, cycle. So swim, bike, run.
Yeah.
That's triathlon in a nutshell. And if you can train in these different disciplines on different days and give your body time to recover, that's the key here. Because I overtrained. This is not sharpening the saw. This is called blunting the saw. It's when you train 11 times a week. When you train 11 times a week, there's going to be nothing left of your saw. It's going to be broken. And effectively, that's what happened to me a few years back. Because I was up to half Ironman. So I was in for the Ben Nevis triathlon. And the Ben Nevis triathlon is 1,500 meters in the loch. It is 70 kilometers. Oh, is it 2.5 in the loch? Or 2,000 kilometers in the loch? Yeah, 2,000 kilometers in the loch. It's 70 kilometers or maybe more, 56 miles on the bike. And it's 13 miles running up Ben Nevis and back down at the end. That's how fit I was. I was going to be doing that, and I could have knocked that out of the park. Unfortunately, I tried to train 11 times a week and fit everything in and really seriously hurt myself before I got there.
Do you know what I was going to say, Jim, is when you were telling that story there about how you're looking how to now incorporate the spin bike and things to get you ready for back on the bike and whatever. And I know, and a lot of people who follow you and things will know that you were at a certain level of fitness and doing triathlons and things. And obviously certain factors in that, you've got to a point where you need to build yourself back up. So you're obviously then consciously making that effort to, right, okay, I need to start incorporating this back in. And I think it's a good lesson to teach, to learn from, for everybody else watching as well, because although you're maybe at a certain point and maybe you have been at your peak and come back down again, doesn't mean you can't go back. You just need to find the right strategy to get you back into that.
It's the discipline to get back on the saddle. Excuse the pun, but literally it's like the horse, get back on the horse.
Yeah.
It's that discipline. Do you want to go through that process all over again? And for me personally, it's not the triathlon I want to do. It's the health benefits as a result of what I'm doing and the longevity in life it will give me and the better quality of life later on. So the triathlon isn't about breaking any records. It is about, and I spoke to Ian about this today. If I could run 10-minute miles for the rest of my life in my 80s and in my 90s, I will be a happy man. If I could do, the 2 kilometers in the pool and it takes me an hour and 20 minutes for every 750 meters, then I will be a happy man, especially 80 and 90-year-old. So my goal is not to break any records, but to sustain that level of activity and health way into my 80s, my 90s, possibly even hundreds, 110, 120 when I get there. So I want to be at that sort of level. I want to be the person that breaks these records in the Guinness Book of Records, in years to come when I get past 100-year-old. Hey, if I don't get past 100-year-old, I'm going to die trying.
Yeah.
That's weird, eh? If I'm going to get past 100-year-old, I'm going to die trying. Well, you're literally going to die trying, aren't you?
Obviously, yeah.
It's either, this is a great one for another show. The title should be, I'm either going to do it or I'm going to die trying.
Yeah, do it or die trying.
Yeah, do it or die trying. That's effectively it. That will be another title for a show at some point in time, I would imagine. It's like the old adage what I talk about, it's Monte Carlo or bust. It's for everything I do, it's Monte Carlo or bust. It's like all in every single time. There is no going back. It's burn the boats on the shores and we're going to win this war.
Do you know, I remember, back when we first started working together, one of the things I always remember you referring to was Monte Carlo or bust.
Yeah. It's what I'm known for. The Monte Carlo or bust attitude. It was going to be the title of one of the books. Yeah. I've still got it down as one of the books. It's like Monte Carlo or bust. It's all in or nothing. It's you're either going to become a millionaire or you're going to die trying. and that's for me. I would rather die trying. Genuinely.
Yeah.
I've had lots of friends actually I've known over the years, and one of them was Alan Duffus, who was the motorcyclist, and basically there's a corner, there's a dip in a corner at Knockhill Racing Circuit, and it's called Duffus Dip. Now the reason it's called Duffus Dip is because that is the dip that he used to come off on his motorbike every single time. And do you know what he used to say? I would rather die than come second. And literally, he rode himself almost to his death in the pursuit of becoming first every single time in a race. He would not accept any excuses for himself. And if it meant he came off his bike because he just tried to take the corner at Duffus Dip just a lot faster to overtake the person, and he came off, he would rather come off than actually be second place and realize he's not tried enough. And that's the sort of mentality. That's the sort of mentality people like me have. Look at the Brunley brothers.
Yeah, I think that really demonstrates somebody's dedication to what they've set out to do, and their mindset and what they're actually doing, and their goal that they're trying to achieve.
The majority of the population, majority of people, wouldn't pay that price. They wouldn't. They don't think like that. They don't have the mentality of that. And I think I understand that completely. That they don't want to pay that price because it's like, well, you'll not be here any longer. But for some reason, there's a minority group of us that have this mentality. They've got no off switch. So therefore, when their body tells them give up, give up, give up, they just keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
This is why you saw Alistair carting his brother over the finish line in the triathlon. When he was, he was all over the place, and his brother just got a hold of him and just hauled him over the line physically because there was no way he had any more gas in the tank.
Yeah.
But this is the thing about, you've got to come back to saying about sharpen the saw. Did he effectively sharpen the saw before he started? And probably the answer to that is no.
Maybe not as sharp as he should have. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't go into that. He didn't go into that race as match fit as he should have been, or he maybe just peaked too early. He maybe just put too much energy in it, and his threshold where he was working it, he was way above his actual threshold. Therefore, he ran out of steam. He ran out of steam a lot earlier. If you've only got 5 minutes of running as fast as you can, like the world's going to end, and you're going to put it all in and leave it all on the table. If you've got 5 minutes, and it's going to take you 6 minutes to the finish line,
5 minutes for when you need it.
Yeah, you're going to have to make sure this is why a lot of runners, when they get to the line, then it comes out of them. It's like, I went too early. They typically say that, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, you do. You hear stories of that, and then and if you watch racing and things, I mean, it's not something that I watch predominantly a lot, but you do recognise that towards the end they all start to give it their all, and if you do that too early, you're going to, well,
Yeah.
like what happened to the is it Alistair's brother or was it Alistair?
No, Alistair brother.
Aye. So and then that's what happens. Obviously, they've run out of steam just before they get to the end line, which is a shame. But luckily, he had his brother there to take him over. But a lot of
Yeah,
people would
Johnny.
kind of,
So his
yeah,
brother's Johnny. So Alistair and Johnny. So Johnny just ran out of steam. It's like Alistair then had to pick him up and basically haul him over the line, more or less give him a curry back if he could get away with it. But then you wouldn't be able to do that because he's off the ground. So that's effectively this is why everybody should sharpen the saw, and
yeah.
this is why everybody should focus on these key principles that will help them.
So, as we talk about your physical body, and I think what goes hand in hand with that is nutrition, and obviously the way that what you obviously put into your body in terms of what you eat and things as well. And that's, I mean, we've spoke about a lot about that in the past and how people do that differently. I mean, a lot of people now vegan and all the rest of it's quite good, are quite popular, and it is good for you if it's done properly. That's again something you need to be really disciplined and have it start to incorporate, and it goes alongside the physical exercise, and I think that the proper foods that you eat and things as well.
Yeah.
And that combined, really, I feel, if you're in a good physical and like a mental state, I think goes in turn with that. I mean, people know even just walking the dog and things helps you on a mental level because just to kind of clear your head, react with your surroundings. So yeah, physical and obviously nutrition is a really important part of how your body functions and how you are able to perform in any aspect, whether that's in your professional life or even just in your personal life, or just how you feel in general. And that brings us on to the mind.
So hold it. If you ever want to look at nutrition,
Yeah,
here's a great one. If you've got Netflix, the one that you should be watching right now, the series, is You Are What You Eat, the
yes,
twin experiment. Okay? So they're taking genetic twins, exactly the same. So they're identical twins genetic wise. And then
hmm,
what they're doing is they're giving one a plant-based diet and they're giving one a carnivorous diet, the usual typical diet. And then they're putting them through the same exercises, but the only thing they're changing is what they consume. Everything else is the same.
yeah,
Their lifestyles are the same. Their exercise is the same. The only difference is that. Now, that is a real eye opener. I watched that over the weekend, over the last week. As soon as it was out, I thought I'm going to watch that. And I was watching it. And one of the things I identified, which was actually quite good for me personally,
did you
from
say
that,
them?
and you are what you eat. Okay. And that's the twin experiment. Because there's a lot of things you are what you eat, other programs, but this is the twin experiment just come out on Netflix. It's a short series, maybe 5 or 6 episodes, but it's a real eye opener for anybody that wants to look after their health and see what they should be eating. It's not about converting you to veganism.
No,
It's letting you understand how different types of diets actually affect your body. But more importantly, they were doing scientific experiments. It's Dr. Tim Spector. It was on Diary of a CEO I talk about quite a bit.
yeah,
He's a microbiologist, for microbiotics and microbes in your stomach and that. And he's doing studies on the fact that what ones are good for you and what ones are bad for you and what ones we should encourage and how can we encourage them. And this is all part of this study. And the plant-based diet. Does a plant-based diet make a difference? Now, the two things I'll recognize, because I had one before, two things I'll recognize out of this is plant-based diets actually get rid of a lot of visceral fat.
hmm,
Visceral fat's what the fat is in your intestines round about it and stuff like that. So that's all the visceral fat. And that's the ones that cause heart disease, heart attacks, and all the rest of these ailments later on, and Alzheimer's and everything like that. Believe it or not. It's like that's what it does.
yeah,
So plant-based diets actually get rid of that because they've not got huge amounts of fats. They're all good fats that are good for you. So there's a thing that also intensive farmed animals. For example, salmon. 50% of
yeah.
what's on our shelf now is salmon, and the amount of fat and the amount of antibiotics that are pumped into all these animals, like chickens as well, in order to
Farmed
sustain them.
salmon, yeah.
Yeah, they're all intensive farmed, and the amount of antibiotics that are pumped into all these animals, it's like we're consuming them all. And we're becoming then antibiotic resistant. Therefore, if we ever get illnesses, then we're goosed.
Yeah.
Well, personally, I'm no goose because I'm not consuming any of that at
Yeah.
all. So it's easy for me to take an antibiotic and it'll help me no bother. Although, because of my level of fitness, it's very unlikely I'll ever get really ill because of that. Because your body protects itself, because the amount of fitness you've got, and it learns to protect
Got a
itself.
higher level of self-repair.
Yes, definitely. Oh well, we knew that, because as soon as I ripped my face open, within a week I was repaired.
Yeah.
It was almost gone, and it was like, wow, this is like miraculous.
I've watched a few things and I've read about antibiotic resistance, and it's actually quite concerning, and they are quite concerned about it, because if we lose the resist, if we build a resistance to the antibiotics that we depend on to obviously make ourselves better, then yeah, like you say, we're good.
Yeah, definitely. So the final one for me was out of this, and this is the one I've forgotten, actually, because I've forgotten it because I was talking about the rest, about visceral fat and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Was here it is here. You have to take quite a lot of carbohydrates when you're training.
Mm-hmm.
Do not avoid carbohydrates, because you need it. If you don't have enough carbohydrates, your body consumes your muscle.
Because it's not got anything, it needs to repair
Yeah,
it.
it starts to eat away at your muscle. This goes back to Tony Robbins. Remember, we were at Tony Robbins at
Well,
leadership.
do you know
And we
what?
were at leadership at Tony Robbins, and I'll just bear with me now. And the first thing he said, I remember Tony Robbins saying from the stage, and he said, "Do you know what happens if you don't eat the right nutrition? Your body wakes up in the morning and starts to consume and take all the nutrition away from your heart, from your lungs, from your kidneys,
You
and it
need that,
starts to eat it all and consume it all, and it starts to eat your body because you're not eating the right nutrition." Hence the reason why you get people and they're like, you look, oh, it's like I'm on a diet, and you're like, you don't look healthy, and it's like because your body is consuming itself. Yeah, it has to eat something, it has to run on something. So if you've got nothing for it to run on, then it just consumes your body.
Yeah. This topic made me think about, and when we were down at Tony Robbins and one of the speakers there, and it made me think about, and I knew we were going to come about obviously nutrition and things, and it made me think about Jason Vale. And I went and got this from the bookshelf, and I think I've got the DVD somewhere as well. Super Juice Me by Jason Vale. That was a real eye opener when we seen that. I mean, we seen him do that live, his whole presentation, and obviously spoke to the whole room about it. But that was something that I thought was amazing. And the DVD, if you watch it, you probably get it on YouTube now, to be honest.
Well, look at the examples. He said, "Look, there's Jim. There's Jim in the audience. Jim's actually, because he's now been super juicing. He's now a marathon runner. Stand up, Jim." It was me. It's like all because he juiced, and that was effectively me. It was me that stood up. And I have become a triathlete and a marathon runner because of what I've done over the years. I've looked back and loads of times. I've been juicing for the last 10 or 12 years.
Yeah, it's been a while now.
Almost every single day. And it's the same juice every single day, but it gives me all the right nutrients. And it's funny because Brian was talking this morning on Diary of a CEO about living, don't die as his mentality, and how he's doing all these different things. And I actually put in because he reads all the comments. And it'll be interesting to see if he replies to this one. I actually put in Diary of a CEO in the comments. I actually put, do you know, when I was sitting next to Richard Branson at breakfast, in Necker, we were actually discussing about living longer. And I was talking about, I want to live to 150, and these are the reasons why. And Richard was talking about how he was, doing what he was doing to live longer as well. And then then I remember him saying to me, and this applies to Brian actually, because he's a bit, focused on it too much, I think. And Richard actually said to me, he says, maybe you should focus on living in today rather than actually trying to live for tomorrow and live in the future. And I understand what he means by that, and I do live for today as well, as because decisions are made today which will benefit my future, but I don't primarily live in the future. Whereas Brian, is trying to do this, is actually on a mission, but he's actually sacrificing today for living in the future. But all that data that he's collected is not for monetization. He's actually releasing it all to the public, all the data he's got from all the different experiments he's doing. So all that information is available free and publicly in order to benefit the whole planet, in order to benefit everybody in terms of their health and nutrition, to live a lot longer and live a lot healthier. So I've got to take my hat off to him for that.
Yeah.
So these are the sort of things. body and nutrition. Now, nutrition, definitely takes us on to things like your heart, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So once you've looked at your body, your exercise, your nutrition, your rest that you need, because you definitely need rest. Remember that. Take time out to sharpen your axe, for God's sake. Don't do what I did. Don't make the mistakes I've made. Just learn from my mistakes. Learn from wisdom rather than actual experience in this instance. Also, body stress management as well. If you do it properly, you're okay. So then, therefore, it actually gives consistent deposits of in your heart, in terms of your heart and your
We call
heart
them
health.
EBAs, which is emotional bank accounts.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just explain. So your heart becomes healthier as an account, but your also heart is your emotional, and it leads on to the mindset of spirit and obviously mind as well, and combined in that. So these are all things the body combines, and then the heart is the emotional aspect, and it is these conditional, emotional bank that you've got, and the key relationships you have with other people. Now, that can't all go perfectly well all the time, because, everybody has a different belief system. We've demonstrated this before, how people can see the same situation, but actually interpret in a totally different environment and a totally different light. We've had it recently, actually. So there's these things, the emotional bank account you've got to look at as well, in terms of your relationships with other people. So it can't be all one-sided. You can't just go, I'm just going to look at the body. I mean, the body, the heart, the mind, and the spirit. Let's look at it this way. It's like having 4 wheels in a car.
Yeah.
Now, if you get rid of one of them, could you imagine what it's like driving a car with 3 wheels? Well, most people can. It's called a Reliant Robin. Del Boy ran about in one for years. but how steady is a Reliant Robin? Waving from side to side, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that shows you having the 3 wheels in the car isn't the right option. But could you do it with 2 wheels? Well, effectively, you'd be on a bicycle. Yeah, okay. But you wouldn't get there as quick and as effective as a car. A car's more thing. So having the 4 wheels is obviously the key symbiotic relationship here, which actually gives you an overall synergistic benefit to the end result that you're after. So body, emotional bank account, mind, that then brings you on to.
Yeah. Mind. And I think your mindset and your mind and how you continually learn and things. And for me, the most prominent thing at the moment, and I think it's top of the list when we look at this, is reading. And reading something that I'm currently myself trying to get into the consistent habit of doing.
Oh, put your hand up for me, Richard. Did you try or did you do it?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
No, but did you try or did you do it?
Yeah,
Because you says reading as I'm trying.
Yeah. You always pick me up on the way.
Never. For anybody out there tuning in, we have this joke all the time where we say, I'm trying, and I do this with everybody anyway. I'm trying to do it. Okay, just put your hand up for me. And they go, okay, I'll put my hand up. So did you try or did you do it? Yeah. Oh, well, I did it. Well, there you go. There's no such thing as try.
My bookmarks and the
perfect. So that's what it is. You either do it or you don't. In my opinion, it's a black or white issue. To me, it's you do it or you don't, and there's no differentiation. You don't just try something. You're either all in or you're not doing it at all, or you're all in to the point where you think this is probably not for me, and then you pull back from it and think, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. We're done. Whereas you're all in and you think, yeah, okay, I like this. I'm just going to continue to do it. So mind is definitely one.
Yeah, I do enjoy reading. It's just something that it's the consistently doing it all the time that I find is a difficult thing. I think a lot of people will associate with that. But obviously I know that from your experience and from listening to other people, you need to read in order to be successful and to progress. So I'm obviously disciplining myself to make it a habit.
How can you be the man of the future with the same mindset you have today? It's impossible.
No.
You'd just be the same person.
You need to change, yeah.
So in order to change that mindset, you have to learn from other people. You have to learn from other sources. This is the exact example of how do you think somebody becomes a doctor? They learn at university, don't they? and they learn as an intern or as a a junior doctor on the job. Then they become a doctor.
Yeah.
So a doctor somebody just doesn't wake up one day and go, I want to be a doctor, and then next year you're a doctor. No, it's exactly the same with where you're thinking about the now. This is where I want. This is why it's all about sort of have an idea about where you want to be. Where do you want to go in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, or whatever it is you want? What is it you want to achieve? What do you want to get out of this? Where do you want to be? What type of person do you want to be? And then you'll start to adapt your mind and your thinking to that person that you should be.
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey talks about it all the time, doesn't he?
Yeah. Did he not say that he kept thinking of himself, of the person, and was it 10 years, I think?
His hero.
Yeah.
His hero is the person he'll be in 10 years' time.
Mm-hmm.
And that person and what they do and how they think is the most important thing to him and how he's going to be. And if he imagines the person he wants to be in 10 years' time and what that person will be like, he will then begin to work towards that by acting like that person he's going to be in 10 years' time and learning to the level that person needs to learn to be, it's in 10 years' time. So do you see the same concept of, where, you see the same concept? I want to do a triathlon again. When do you want to do it? Okay, I need to do that, and that to get to this stage where I'm going to be doing a triathlon in 4 months' time. This is why somebody says, if you want to be a marathon runner, you can be a marathon runner from scratch. Do you know how long it takes you to be a marathon runner from scratch, from couch?
Nope.
17 weeks.
How do they work that out?
They've got a plan. If you go on London Marathon's website and you see there's a plan there straight away, a running plan to get you to run a marathon in 17 weeks. 17 weeks. And most people will sit there on the couch and say, I'll never be able to run a marathon. Now, for some people, it's physically impossible.
Physically maybe not possible, yeah.
But for somebody, it's a normal build and all the rest of it. You could be a marathon runner in 17 weeks. You've just got to discipline yourself to do it, though. Because it's a hard slog. It's a hard slog. I would rather take a lot longer, maybe 30 weeks, maybe 34 weeks, maybe double. I maybe like to take a lot longer and make it more relaxing so I don't have the intensity and I'm able to sustain everything else around about me at the same time. Yeah. So, the habit stacking thing and getting that in. And the less stress it will be, but the more you will learn over that period of time as well.
I think that's a really important thing that you say there, Jim. Obviously, they've said that 17 weeks, you could do that in 17 weeks. But you would really need to apply yourself at a really high level. And everyone, no matter who they are, has other things going on. So no matter what you're trying to achieve, you could maybe do it in a shorter period of time, but it's probably wiser to spread it out so that you're not obviously pushing yourself too far. And then you end up, obviously, like you say, running out of steam or burning out, trying to achieve your goal because you've got so much other stuff going on. So it's all about balance. I think that's the proper word for it, probably.
Balance, yeah, you could say that, but I'm kind of the opinion that balance is a myth. Balance really doesn't exist. Anybody that says to you, I need work-life balance, is not going to achieve anything really successful that they really want to achieve. If you're all in and you need to do something to achieve it, you've got to first of all believe it. You've got to have faith that you can achieve it, or you'll never do it. But balance is not the balance is not in the thinking in terms of that. Do you think Elon Musk says to himself, I need a work-life balance? You think Jeff Bezos says that? Jeff Bezos maybe says that kind of now because he's got where he's got and he's got a sustainable model which doesn't rely on him. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, do you think Jeff Bezos said that? Do you think Steve Jobs said that? Do you think, all these Richard Branson, do you think he said that? None of them. None of them went, I need work-life balance.
No, they were all obviously all in to achieve what they were achieving. But what I'm saying is you can't maintain that level all the time.
No, because you'll burn out eventually.
Yeah.
But you don't need to have that balance and you can go all in as long as you understand how your body works and how your mind works and how to understand when you're pushing yourself to the limits and when to pull back. So I've become a master at that over the years, and I've begun to master that, because I know certain triggers. I know, for example, when I get mega stressed, and I don't feel I'm getting stressed. It's when my pinky starts to break out in wee boils, just wee blisters. When it starts, now it's not done it in years, but I know that's a trigger.
Yeah.
When it starts to do that, and some people out there will identify that as well, because my daughter has that same thing. She keeps telling me, I don't know why this is coming out, because it's like, and I go, Tony, you must be. No, I'm not stressed. And it's like, well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, and it's like, yeah, there you go. What else can I say?
Another thing to what you were just saying there is obviously, like you say, a lot of these successful people have went all in and really pushed themselves to the limit. But in doing that, whatever they've been obviously doing, they've created whatever they're creating it so that when they do step back, it continues to run without them.
Yeah. A sustainable model, or they're trying to reach a goal and they're just within spitting distance, and they need to push it more. However, the one analogy or thing that pops into my mind is or meme, if it would put it in that sense, is the bit at the end of Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, when he's reaching for the cup.
Yeah.
And the first guy reaches for the cup across the crevice, and they're going, no, don't, you'll kill yourself. And basically he falls into the abyss because he wants the cup so bad. And then Indiana Jones tries to do the same thing, and his father, Sean Connery, playing his father, goes, Indy, you can't have both.
Yeah.
You're going to lose your life. And he pulls back from it and actually does that. So there's a great, it's things that stick with you. These sort of instances where you think to yourself, at this point in time, you're in that situation and you need to pull back. That I see these things pictorial wise in my mind. A lot of memes actually appear in my mind about certain situations, and it's very, very pictorial, and I see things a lot like that, and I see the world like that sometimes. So therefore, I'm able to. I've taught myself now, when I'm beyond my threshold and I need to come back down, you have to do it. And at that point, that's when you have to learn to say no. Well, you have to learn to say no just now to someone and say, look, it's no the now, but 3 weeks' time, it'll be a different story, because I just need to bring myself back down.
No is one of the most difficult things I find people can find to say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult. I've seen people say, it's I can't say no. So I've seen Tony Robbins bring somebody up on stage, or some of my mentors before bring someone up on stage and say, okay, right, everybody in the audience, say no to that person, and like 5,000 people shout out no, and the person goes, and then he goes to them and goes, is anything different for you? Have you changed? And he went, well, no, really. He says, well, there you go. So you've had 5,000 no's, and you can still sustain that, because a lot of the no's is about rejection, isn't it?
Yeah.
People fear rejection.
Fear rejection. Yeah.
They don't like rejection, and therefore that's a mindset thing as well. So it's about, and that's where reading is so important, in order to, and listening to podcasts and listening to all the right people. What to do is strengthen your mind, to make yourself more resilient, to almost put this armor on you. I call it an eggshell.
Yeah.
Instead of an eggshell, it's an eggshell. In other words, it stops negative getting to you. So you have your eggshell on, and that's what reading does for you. And learning and studying from other people far more successful in your field, it creates this eggshell. And learning from other people's experiences of their failure and how they dealt with it, and how they moved forward as a result. Because without failure, you'll never succeed. You have to fail to be successful. Yeah. Nobody came out and was instantly successful. Show me a critic. Show me a statue that's been erected to a critic. Never.
And I think you'll always, and you hear that even like successful people, even when you've got celebrities and things on TV, and anybody you listen to that's successful in whatever field they're in, their story always begins with, "Oh, I had so many rejections. I was turned back by so many people, and this." And and they had that quite a lot, and they just had that drive to keep on going.
Every single time, Richard.
Yeah.
It's people's fear of rejection. It stops them doing anything. This is why you've either got to be pushed by your circumstances or pulled by your dreams.
Yeah.
You need to have a dream big enough, a goal big enough that nothing can get in the way. No amount of rejection can get in the way. No obstacles you can't overcome, because the goal is that big, or the dream is that big, that you will succeed or die trying.
Yeah. Do you know as well, and for me personally, and I think this might relate to a lot of people if they think about it, it doesn't, I mean, speaking to the right people and associating with the right people and reading the right books and learning from the right people, it doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to read one book or have one conversation with one person and it's going to change. I think it takes time. And I think once you've spent a lot of time around a lot of different people who are successful and applied yourself properly, then there'll be a moment when you think, God, I've learned quite a lot since then.
Absolutely.
Whereas it's maybe the mentality, obviously, people want things to happen overnight, but nothing does.
Yeah. I've read one book. Why is it no change for me?
No, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
There's people out there like, hey, listen, when I started off as a young teenager, I remember looking at books on the shelves, like 7 Habits of Wealth and Secrets of Wealth and Happiness, like How to Become a Millionaire. All these different books I used to look at, and I was very cynical at that time when I was a teenager. And I used to say, how to become a millionaire. Well, write a book and sell it to everybody and become a millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
But what I didn't realize at that time, because I just lacked understanding and knowledge, I was a bit ignorant when I was younger. I was very confused, as you know, by my story, and we spoke about last year actually at this time. I was very confused in the wrong mind space, and I wouldn't listen to anyone else. I couldn't see it because there was no preparation done. So when the opportunities appeared, I wasn't ready to take part. That's the key.
Yeah.
And the books that you read and the podcasts you listen to and the people you learn from, the mentors, are all the keys to being ready and prepared for the opportunity when it arrives.
Point of readiness.
Point of readiness. You've nailed it.
Yeah, that is a really important point. And I think for anybody listening, you're definitely speaking from experience, and we know that. And if anybody missed, obviously on our YouTube channel, you could go back, and Jim, we've done a whole mini series within the Wealth Creation Show about the diary of your journey. Was it 7 episodes we done? I think. 7?
Yeah, 7 episodes. Then I did 7 episodes of, there was another whole load of episodes as well. It's like how I made $1 million, how I lost $1 million.
Yeah, millionaire mindset, and
and probably how I lost $1 million.
yeah, spoke about that as well.
Maybe I haven't done that one yet. Maybe I've let the cat out of the bag, and it's like how I made $1 million, how I lost $1 million, how I got it all back again. But these things happen. And I remember a currency trader. He talked about how he was up 500 million one year, and then he lost the whole lot, and then 3 years later he was up 600 million. It's like, so, he bankrupt about 3 times or something like that, but then he was up 600 million by then. And it's like, what type of resilience takes that? It takes it to get to that level. But he understands the formula. He knows the blueprint for currency trading in terms of what he does in fund management. So it's easy for him just to replicate it again and do it again. What he needs to learn is how not to lose it, how to keep it.
Yeah,
that's the key. So there's the thing he needs to learn in his journey, and then that comes back to, again, finding somebody else that's successful at it and doesn't actually lose it and learn from them.
Yeah,
this is where it becomes nicely. And you were going to say there, you're just about to say, this is where it comes to spirit. It's spirit that carries you everything.
Yeah,
not spirits as in that spirit.
No, definitely not. But I think it's really important to, and we'll finish up by having a discussion about obviously spirit, which is the fourth aspect, and how important it is to have where you get your inspiration from, where your values lie, and having the right people who who have the same values as you and your values align, to help obviously, because the people around you help you get to where you want to be, throughout different stages of your life. And you need to have the same values as them, and your values definitely need to align. I mean, how important has that been for you, Jim?
Values and beliefs are everything.
Yeah.
You know, if you do anything, most people in turmoil, if you're in turmoil right now, there's something in your values and your beliefs that are not aligning with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably where it is at this point in time. That's why it creates that sort of stress within your body. That's why people end up being ill, because they're doing something that they shouldn't really be doing because it doesn't align with them. Now, this could be anything. This could be in a personal relationship. This could be at your work. This could be at a job. I mean, you know, for me, could you imagine the turmoil it would be for me working in an abattoir?
Yeah.
It would be
I
impossible.
couldn't even do that.
But there you go. So what do you think it's like for people that actually work in an abattoir? You know, what do you think, you know, imagine if you don't want to work in there, but it's the only job you can get and you have to do it. Imagine the turmoil you would have within yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and imagine you know what happens? Your body starts to, you know, become insular, and it starts to creep in on you. And then your face starts to show in your face. Your face starts to get wrinkled. You start to get all these ailments. You start to get headaches. Your hair starts to fall out, but that's just normal. That's my hormones that made that happen.
That's
You know,
hereditary.
right. That's your hair. Well, let's say your hair starts to get straw-like.
Mm-hmm. Thinning.
It's not conditioned anymore. You've not got this beautiful long wavy hair anymore. It doesn't feel natural anymore. It feels straw-like and almost like you know, like prickly.
Mm-hmm.
Your eyesight begins to fade. Your eyes don't look as blue or as brown or as green as they should do. Your nails and your skin you don't look the right color. That's what your spirit, you know, it's basically killing you.
Yeah.
Basically shortening your life. You know, that's what's happening, doing something that doesn't go in alignment with your beliefs. Now, it's not me saying that. This is all comes from people like Tony Robbins, Joseph McClendon III. You know, the other one is Keith J. Cunningham. You know, Rich Dad Poor Dad. All these different things. If you're going and this is why I find being an estate agent is quite a challenging way for me, because I can't be a traditional estate agent. I can't look at people at numbers. I can't just look at somebody and think they're a number and think they're a meal ticket. I can't do that. My estate agency and the way I do estate agency is tell me about your problem and let me solve it for you. And generally, it more or less is there's something happened in their life that they're having to move house. So it's that resolution I need to come to in order for them to move on and sell their house. That's the sort of so I need to spend some time with people when I'm there. A classic example is Savills and Retties were out the other day to Strathkinnis, and I was out at the back of them.
Yeah.
And I asked the lady, did you see a fundamental difference in what I've done as opposed to these two? And she says it was like night and day.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I could not believe it. She says, you sat down and took time to listen to me and understand my needs and understand what I wanted and how I was going to get there and have a plan of action to implement that. The guy from Savills walked in the door and walked straight back out again.
Yeah.
And says, I'll send you an email. Retty's lasted 10 minutes and says, I've got another appointment. I was there for 2 hours. There for 2 hours.
It's amazing how...
Now, 2 hours could have been a lot of time. And folk was, oh God, I wouldn't want you in my house for 2 hours. But it wasn't me that wanted her for 2 hours. She wanted me for 2 hours to talk to her about her current position and how to resolve that and what to do. And for me, that has been an estate agent.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. It's amazing how people maybe don't understand being an estate agent. It really is about getting to know the person and really spending that time to, like you say, find out what the driver is, what is going on that's got them in that position where they want to sell. How could you help them get to where they want to be, and what's the best you know what? And there's a lot involved in that. We're not just here to put a value on your property and stick it on Rightmove. That's not what an estate agent
and sometimes we get to the end of it, Richard, and I say, I don't think you should sell your house.
Yep.
And this is the reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
And they go,
you're absolutely right.
I can't believe you've just told me that. You're supposed to be here to convince me to sell my house. No, I'm not. I'm there to convince you of the best way forward for you, and for you to decide, based on the facts that I've just delivered to you and the scenarios I've delivered to you, what is best in your own interests and not mine at all.
That obviously appeals to you, really, because I know, and anyone who knows you, Jim, knows that you love problem solving and finding the resolution and helping people, and that ultimately is what it is.
Yeah. And how much more money do I need?
Yeah.
It's like,
and that's where your values,
I would just give it away.
Yeah, and that's where your values and things all come into play, because that's where your values lie, is obviously helping them get to where they are, and it's not just a number, and you're not just doing it to make money. It's to help people. And what's the slogan, Jim?
Helping you manage life as it happens.
Yeah, definitely.
Effectively. I got that from America. When I sat in the Century 21 convention, I was, I had a mentor who was teaching our focus group at the time, and somebody came out from the group and went, I've got a really good phrase, and it's like, they came up with some connotation, and then we evolved it, and then we said, helping you manage life as it happens. And effectively, for me, that is the perfect phrase for everything I do. Yeah. Helping you manage life as it happens.
Yeah, I do. I like that, and I think it really does display exactly what we do as agents, and especially yourself, Jim. So let's do a rundown. So the body, the heart, the mind, the spirit. I mean, there's a lot involved in that, and there is a lot of discipline that it takes to get yourself on the right level of what you're doing with your physical body, your nutrition. You're obviously dealing with your relationships and things, your mindset, learning, and like we've just explained there about your values and who aligns with them and the people that you surround you with. They're all really important, and they're the four main parts. And they all come, Jim, obviously, we keep referring to the book. The book's really good, and it's 7 Habits That Highly Effective People. Sharpen the Saw is actually habit 7. And I was actually just saying to you, we should really do each one individually, and we might do that actually, each habit individually.
Well, do you know doing the other habits is really good, because it's not just reading a book. It's actually taking that habit and saying, well, how has that habit helped me?
Yeah.
And I've read the book and I've started again. So I've just read it, and it was like the Forth Road Bridge, the Forth Rail Bridge. And I went start to the beginning again. As soon as I finished the end, I started at the beginning again, and I'm reading through it again. And I tell you what, reading through it again in the first chapter, I can't even remember any of that stuff. It's like, wow, what a great, that's amazing information. It's like, but I can't actually remember any of that stuff first time round. So see how it's important to reconnect and actually still continue to learn, even though it's the same content. And this is why. Well, this is why, I don't get this, because Elaine says, I've read it once, I'll never read it again, or I've seen the film once, or I've seen that band before, and it's like, I'll never need to see them again. And I'm like, I get a different experience every time.
Different each time, yeah.
It's a different experience. For me, it's like I've read it for the first time all over again. And it's not because I've forgotten it. It's because there's a lot of content in there, because I absorb things quite a lot. I absorb a lot of information. I become almost like a sponge when I learn stuff, and I want to know. And I'll sometimes reread a whole page again, or a whole chapter again. It's like, I never really picked it up well, because I was thinking about something else in my mind. You know how you get distracted, and you've just got something niggling in your mind. You think, I've not actually got the whole context of what was in that chapter. I'm going to read it again. So for some people, it's like, I could read a book in 3 weeks or 3 nights. One of my friends, Laura, she was like, we used to have the books, and when we were learning and had our mentors, and it's like, I used to go, how are you getting on with your book? And she went, I've finished. Well, it was only 3 days ago we got it.
So again in that short period of time.
I know, but that's how she reads books. She read a whole book of about 300 pages in 3 nights. I'm like, I'm not even past the first chapter.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
So I become a sponge in terms of how to do it, and that's how I learn. But that's how I retain information as well, and that helps overall. But definitely go back and read. Think and Grow Rich. I've read. I think I'm into 50 times. Think and Grow Rich. I think it's a new book every single time
All
I
my
read it.
books next to me
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, you've got all your books with you today. It's
They're all my
now I'm going to catch you out. Delia Smith's best cookbook. Have you got that one?
No, I've got Jamie Oliver's, but
because you're showing. Oh, I've got this book, and you're showing all these books. Delia Smith's cookbook.
I did look at. I've got another bookshelf, and I did look at Jason Vale's because I knew I would incorporate today because we're talking about nutrition.
For people that are unhealthy at this point in time, they're needing to improve their health. I think Jason Vale's Super Juice Me is brilliant. Yeah. Super Juice Me is actually a film as well, a documentary online, which actually shows how he took maybe about 20 people with really bad ailments, really bad health problems.
That's a good watch.
He changed them within 28 days just by his juice. Now, Super Juice Me is actually, what's her name? Alicia Dixon. Alicia Dixon's an ambassador for Super Juice Me. She actually follows it, and she's actually been to the Juicy Retreat in Portugal as well several times. Yeah. And she swears by what Jason Vale does. She's a big fan, as well as me. I'm a huge fan of Jason Vale and what he does in terms of what he teaches. And his passion is to super juice the whole world.
Yeah, it's amazing. That program is definitely worth a watch. It's just amazing what.
If you know his story. If you know his story and all the rashes he had and all the ailments he had when he first started, and even as a young person, this is a young person, and now it's like, flipping it, you're kidding me. You look younger now than you did when you were a teenager.
It's quite amazing, the juicing.
And this is why when I was in Spain, I took my photograph and said to everybody, it's like, I wonder if I checked back to the very beginning 20 years ago when I was taking photographs at the exact same spot. I'll probably look a lot younger now. Now, I maybe I don't have hair now, but I did have hair when I was younger. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things like wrinkles.
Yeah.
Wrinkles and skin condition and health overall. And your LDH or your LDL or whatever it is, all the visceral fat, and you've got none of that. Your cholesterol levels and everything like that. I bet you I am a far fitter and healthier person today than I ever was throughout my whole life so far.
Yeah, I would believe that if I believe that is the truth, Jim. Obviously, because I know what you put in and what you do in terms of your physical and nutrition and everything as well, which takes a lot of dedication and discipline, but you do it. So hats off to you.
Is it? It gets easy. It gets easy.
Because your habits stacked it. That's it.
You get used to it. Yeah, okay, I have to get up at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
You just automatically, your body says, you're getting up at 6 o'clock. It's like, and you're like, oh God, I really need to. It's dark outside. It's cold. It's like, so your mind starts to play tricks and starts to convince you to stay in your bed. And it's like your body goes, no, you're getting up, pal. And then you do the classic 3, 2, 1, and it gets you out of your bed.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. If you want to do something and you're reluctant to do it and you're struggling to do it, just count yourself down. 3, 2, 1. And you'll end up doing it. Because here's a classic. What about your mum and dad? If you don't behave, you'll get into trouble. I will count to 3. 1, 2, 3. And by that time you were right as rain. You sorted yourself, didn't you?
Yeah.
So when you do 3, 2, 1 and count yourself down, it's an automatic response. It's human nature. You're driven to do what you've tried to get yourself to do. So it's a great way to do it. And that's a classic example of your mother and father, how they used to do things. Yeah. It's if I have to count to 10, it's like, oh no. You've gone through all the trauma. It's like, wait a minute. You've not even done anything. All you've said, if I have to count to 10, and it's like, whoa, your body completely changes, your mind changes, all your adrenaline starts running and everything like that. The fear runs through. It's like, oh my God, they're going to count to 10. They're only counting to 10.
I don't think I even got as long as 10.
Right. And then you sort of say aloud, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you see how that pattern of behaviour can be conditioned socially, and you could do that with yourself.
Yeah.
You can condition yourself to do that. Easily done. Anyway, I digress and talk too much.
No. But yeah, Sharpen the Saw is all about yourself, your body, as the most important tool. And I think we've kind of demonstrated that quite well today and went through a lot of examples. And hopefully, if any guys that are watching, definitely read the book. We might cover more of the habits throughout different shows as we move on. But other than that, we will be back next Monday at 12:30, Jim. Thanks, guys, for watching. And we'll catch you next week.
See you later. Bye-bye for now.